So if you haven't been living in a cave recently, then you might have heard about this little movie called K-Pop Demon Hunters, which just hit #1 as the most watched Netflix movie of all time. And I don't know if anybody saw that coming, specifically Sony, but we'll talk about that later. And look, I'm willing to admit, but when I saw that trailer for the first time, I thought for sure it was going to fail. And I went back to watch just to make sure that I wasn't being a hater or something. And no, I swear, it's just a bad trailer. First, the title sucks. It just sucks. And for good or bad, the real plot of the movie wasn't revealed. It shows a girl K-pop group who are secretly demon hunters because, I don't know. And now they have to face a boy K-pop group who's trying to steal their fans because... I remember distinctly when I first watched it, I thought it was like a kids' TV show made by some execs trying to cash in on the K-pop fan base. It honestly looked like a ripoff of KDA from League of Legends. But after watching the movie for the first time, I thought, damn, this is what KDA should have been. Now, I thought after the initial viewing that it was going to be a hit, but I did not think it was going to be the biggest hit. I mean, if you look at the top 10 movies of all time on Netflix, not a single one is animated. Netflix doesn't share information outside the top 10, but I looked deeper and ChatGPT confirms that of the top 23, there are still no animations. Well, except for one now. And it's at #1, which is not really surprising because the competition is super tough. You got to beat out some true superstars. We got Leonardo DiCaprio, Ryan Reynolds, Millie Bobby Brown, Ryan Reynolds, Michael J. Fox, and Ryan Reynolds. The previous #1 was Red Notice, which had 3 superstars at the peak of their careers. But now... there's a new trio in town. Also, just a side note, but Red Notice was trash. Like, I don't know a single person who's actually watched that movie besides me. So, like, this number's gotta be made up. Now, I was not the only one who had my doubts about this movie. It turns out Sony actually had the first crack at making K-Pop Demon Hunters their own. In 2021, Sony directors actually pitched it to Sony Productions, but it wasn't greenlit for whatever reason. Probably because of the title K-Pop Demon Hunters. Like, it's still a bad title. But they didn't like it, so the directors went to Netflix instead, and they said, hell yeah! Which kind of makes sense because they have been really pushing into the Korean market lately. But it wasn't that simple. If Netflix wanted full rights to the IP, because it technically still belonged to Sony, they would have to pay the entire production cost to Sony to make it, which is estimated to be about $100 million, which is still half of Red Notice, plus another $20 million per movie. So Netflix ends up paying the $100+ million to own it, but Sony's still making it. And this is pretty risky for Netflix because if you remember, animation doesn't really do well on their platform. And plus it's a fresh IP which comes with its own high risk. And if you take off the hindsight 2020 glasses, Sony made a good decision. They pretty much made a free $20 million during a time where theaters were cooked from the lockdowns on a product that was all but guaranteed. But boy, sometimes you gotta risk it for the biscuit. Because if they only knew what K-Pop Demon Hunters would become. I mean, think about going to sleep at night and knowing that you fumbled this generation's Frozen, $1 billion franchise. And you literally did all the work and have to just sit here and watch Netflix reap the rewards. Netflix pretty much turned Sony into employees. And I know it might sound like a bit of an exaggeration, but K-Pop Demon Hunters really is shaping up to be $1 billion fumble. Right now, they hold 7 out of the top 10 songs on all of Spotify, owning every single slot in the top 5. On the Billboard Top 100, K-Pop Demon Hunters holds the #1, 4, 5, and 10 slot, which is the first time in Billboard history that a single album has held 4 slots in the top 10 at the exact same time. They did a weekend sing-along at some theaters 3 months after it's been released, mainly so they could be eligible for the Oscars, and it just happens to be the first time that Netflix won the box office, beating out movies like Weapons and Freakier Friday. Speaking of Oscars, they're looking to win 2 this year, which would be the first time in Oscar history for an animated film. 1 Oscar for animated feature and the other one for original song. And all of this is happening right in front of Sony, who had just complained about not having enough original IPs just a year ago. That's just, chef's kiss. I mean, I can't even imagine. Somebody at Sony's gotta be kicking themselves. But it isn't all doom and gloom for Sony. They are still the primary animation studio behind K-Pop Demon Hunters, so Netflix will probably renegotiate just to keep on good terms. But regardless, it is truly a golden year for K-Pop Demon Hunters. Sorry, I had to make a golden reference at some point. You understand. Anyways, moral of the story? Never doubt K-pop. Heels, blade, nails, mascara? They check from my napalm era.